Get after for 6-8 seconds. Guys, this is what we had to get. This ain't the one we want. You want that
Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of Laurel Leader-Call Sports Show. I'm your host, Jack Fairchilds, joined aside Kevan Lindsey and Josh Guru Nichols. Guys, we had a great week this week in high school football. Some fun games in the college atmosphere. First off, Kevin, tell me what your thoughts of the games this week, because we had all rivalry action this week in our high school games.
Yeah, I think they all lived up to the hype. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Northeast versus South came down to basically the very last drive. And then Friday night, we had two powerhouses in West Jones and Laurel. Just a muddy game that was still a competitive game. I think that West obviously wins that game, but Laurel mounted a little bit of a comeback and made things interesting down the stretch. But yeah, great slate of games for Thursday and Friday night.
Guru, you and I were both at the South Northeast Jones game. Tell me a little bit about what you were thinking watching that particular game.
Just going off what Kevin just spoke about, back and forth game. There was some turnovers by both teams that kind of played a part into the final outcome. But the biggest takeaway for me was Colin Flowers, the quarterback for South Jones. Even though he threw 2 interceptions in the game, he ended up taking the Braves down the field on their final drive of the night. And the biggest play, other than the eventual game-winning touchdown, was his throw on 4th down and about 8-9 yards to gain to keep the drive alive. And then, they later scored with right around a minute to go. Northeast gets the ball back with another opportunity, and then a long pass down the near sideline where we were gets picked off, and they run the clock out on the interception, and then the celebration begins.
It was an exciting game, and I do think that was the clutch throw of the night, was that 4th down throw for sure. And it goes to show, too, that even through adversity, he didn't let that define him. The 2 interceptions did not define him. When his team needed him the most, he found the clutch throws and was able to drive them down and get that win. That was impressive. Of course, West Jones jumped out on Laurel early, but Laurel kept it close, and they shut West Jones out in the second half. That has to make them feel good going into this weekend's game. I know that they could have. That's another type game where when you get down by that much, you could just pack it in, and
right.
The Tornadoes did not pack it in.
No, they didn't. And even though West Jones didn't score in the second half, I spoke with Coach Corey Reynolds on Monday, and he said because of the field conditions that Kevin talked about, it was basically a wet, muddy mess. Their game plan in the second half was to just run the football and keep that clock running. Mm-hmm. And no, they didn't score, but if it would have been a closer game, there might have been a few more points put on the board.
Yeah. Shout out to Leo Stinson, by the way, West Jones's punter. I think that gets overlooked in games, but Leo, he kept Laurel pushed back with his punts. Where Laurel's punter, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, but there was a difference there of usually about, I'd say probably 15 to 20 yards. And I think that was a big thing too. Leo was able to keep Laurel kind of pushed back. And then obviously the defense stepped up too.
Yeah. The punting game, your punter and your long snapper are 2 key positions that oftentimes at most every level really get looked over.
Yeah.
We also had some fun with the college games this weekend. You had Some fun, good matchups. I think the Sunday night game, Notre Dame Miami, was a really good game. Ohio State versus Texas, that was hyped as the game of the week. That ended up being a relatively boring game. And the big talk after that game, of course, is Arch Manning. Is he all hype? Is he overrated? After one game, I think that's hard to define, but he did not look good. Kev, did you get a chance to go back and look at any of the highlights or lowlights, if you would, of that game?
I saw a few highlights. I was kind of jealous that Guru, he got to watch it. I'm assuming you watched it, right? You watched
yeah.
it? Oh yeah. And me and Jack, we were at the big matchup in Hattiesburg.
We were. We're going to get to that.
Yeah, I went back and watched a few highlights of the game. And I'll be honest, I'm not just saying this because it's the cool take, but I was always concerned with Arch Manning just because of his high school record. If you look at the teams that he was playing, it was officially academy ball.
Yeah.
It was a little concerning to me. I know.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, his uncles, both of them played there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you go back and you look at some of the highlights, like you go back and look at some of his highlight plays, he was not playing premier competition.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, you got to consider Ohio State's starting quarterback had only thrown 12 passes in his career.
Yeah, I mean, I 100%.
And are we overlooking Ohio State's defense? Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator, solid success in the NFL. Are we putting too much on Arch being a bust and not enough on how good Ohio State's defense is?
I think it actually kind of just goes hand in hand. I mean, you can go back to his high school days, but I mean, this is his third year in Austin, and he's had experience. I mean, he's been in games, he's been in tight situations, but for somebody that comes into the season as one of the front runners for the Heisman Trophy to come out with a game like that, I mean, it's a lot different than what you saw out of Garrett Nussmeier, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, we'll give you a chance because that was another marquee game. Lived up to the hype, the Battle of Death Valley. I think that LSU proved their Death Valley is more intimidating than Clemson's. And maybe Clemson should retire Death Valley after you went into their supposed home and took care of business.
Well, Jack, the crazy thing is my fiance's friends with one of the defensive backs that plays for LSU, and she was at the game, and she said it was the rudest people that she's ever been around, and that, in her words, she felt like, I mean, she's an African-American female, that she could get lynched there. She said going to a game at Clemson compared to going to a game at Ole Miss made Ole Miss seem like going to a Jackson State venue. That was one take. The second take, no tailgating.
Really?
No tailgating, no like semi parties with the music going and everything. Not like you're accustomed to in Baton Rouge. We're at the real Death Valley, because I promise you, if Clemson came down to Red Stick, they would understand what Death Valley is, especially when that place is rocking. And I think the biggest takeaway, other than, I mean, Nussmeier played a very solid game and keeps himself right in the running for, the Heisman. But that defense, dude, man, to hold Clemson to, I think it was under 200 total yards, he had 30 yards rushing on 21 carries, I believe. I mean, that's something scary to look at for anybody left on LSU's schedule, in my opinion.
And Kelly ended the week one curse that he's had. I think it predated being at LSU. I think it started his last year at Notre Dame, and now he's finally gotten past that. That could be good things for the Tigers.
And that's not just a Kelly thing. That's the first time LSU's won a season opener since 2019, and we know what happened that year with Burrow and the boys.
Are you going ahead and calling the national championship? Lee Corso's final national championship pick was the LSU Tigers, by the way.
After what I saw Saturday in fake Death Valley, absolutely.
What was your takeaway from that game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's exactly what y'all were talking about. Kelly ends the week one curse. The LSU ends the week one curse. One thing that I saw, and I went back and double checked just now, and I think it's interesting. Clemson has not scored more than 10 points in their week 1 opener since 2020.
Wow.
Against Wake Forest. They put up, I think it was 37 against Wake Forest in their
But that's
week
Wake
1 opener.
Forest.
Exactly.
That's the ACC power.
Exactly. So they only put up, I think it was 3 to Duke. They got, of course, Georgia ran all over them last year.
Yeah.
Like, they've had trouble offensively, and this is just another sign of, hey.
And that's another team that has a Heisman Trophy caliber quarterback in Cade Klubnik, and he I would have to say he basically by a slim margin outperformed Arch, but I mean he kind of took a back seat. He might be riding in the back seat with Arch in the trunk as far as the Heisman Trophy race goes right now.
Before we get to the state schools, one last game, national game we have to talk about, and y'all know which one. Florida State upsetting Alabama, and not just upsetting Alabama, dominating the Crimson Tide in what most are saying was a lethargic performance from the Crimson Tide. That was a game that shocked me because Florida State only won 2 games last year, only one against an FBS school. So we're not talking about the Florida State of old. That wouldn't be as shocking. We're talking about a Florida State coming off of its worst season in years, and they just dominated what has been the standard, no matter how much some of you may not like them, the standard in college football. I guess the question, and I'll start with our Auburn fan first and then go to our LSU fan. Kevin, is the dynasty officially over after that game for the Alabama Crimson Tide?
Yeah, it's been over. I'm just going to say it. It's been over. I think that it was over while Saban was there. Excuse me. I know that they made the playoffs, and I know they had that one with Michigan, but the cracks were already there. You know, I was listening to Feinbaum Monday on Labor Day, and a caller came in. Excuse me. A caller came in, and she said that, you know, the reports this week is that the team is undisciplined, that there's, you know, they were ordering DoorDash at 1:30 in the morning. There's videos of players with their cell phones out while they're warming up, all of that. But she made a really good point that they were undisciplined in Saban's last year. They were making boneheaded mistakes while he was there. So I think the dynasty was already showing cracks. And I think it's over. We all picked Florida State, if I remember right.
We did.
We all picked Alabama.
No, you're right.
In that game. This was the one whenever I got home, I immediately tuned in and was watching. And Ty Simpson, you know, I think he didn't play well throwing the ball, but that offensive line was atrocious. He was running for his life. And he actually made some athletic plays to get out of the pressure to try to just get the ball away. So if I'm an Alabama fan, I know a lot of the focus has been on Ty Simpson, but I'm looking at that offensive line saying, what happened? Like, what are we missing out on? Obviously, Florida State, and I think that's where they excelled, is they controlled the line of scrimmage. And when's the last time that we've seen a team from Alabama just absolutely lose the line of scrimmage?
I would have to say you'd have to go back to 2007 and Saban's first year in Alabama.
Yeah, that or the Clemson-Alabama National Championship.
Yeah.
That might be the one where I see that. But otherwise, I think that was the biggest thing. The line.
Yeah, and going off pretty much everything you said, I went on record the day that DeBoer was announced as head coach and said, this is not going to work. I gave it 3 years. After this past Saturday, he may not make it out of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I think it's going to get worse before it gets better.
I agree.
And I think 8-4 at this point is probably the ceiling.
If they go 8-4, that's based on what I saw on Saturday. That would be a success because I mean I just don't.
No, that's why I say it's the ceiling, and you know, and Saban created that monster over there in Tuscaloosa, and that fan base is so rabid that 8-4 is not going to cut it. Even though in year 2, I mean, if he doesn't have a magical turnaround, that being DeBoer, the head coach, the rest of the way, and they have a less than 9-win regular season, I don't think he's there for the bowl game.
Yeah.
Look at this stretch. This is what was concerning to me. Now, they're going to get ULM this weekend, and then they'll get Wisconsin, who's been on the downward trend. But they have at Georgia, Vanderbilt, who beat them. Remember that. And I know it was at Vanderbilt, and this one's in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, but at Vanderbilt's like a home game because they don't bring fans.
Exactly. You got Georgia, Vanderbilt, at Missouri. That's a sleeper team, in my opinion. Tennessee, at South Carolina. Then you get an off week, and then you have LSU and Oklahoma. You look at that.
Hey,
that's
didn't Kevin pick Vanderbilt to win the SEC East?
The SEC.
Well, the SEC, make it to the SEC.
No, he said the SEC East, so I said it the way he did.
Gotcha. He did. But, I mean, the Vandy game, I'm not sold on Vanderbilt this year.
Right.
I've said
I'm
that
not
before. But every one of those other games, dude, as you're saying them after what we watched in week 1, and I totally agree with Missouri being a sleeper team. I mean, in my head, I was counting maybe a 500 season is going to be in store in Tuscaloosa. And I think I speak for the whole table that not any one of us would be disappointed.
No.
You're going to Auburn this year.
Yeah.
And the voodoo happens at Auburn.
That's fair.
I'm not saying they're going to go out and Auburn's going to win that game, but hey, the year that they did go to the playoffs, it took an act of God from Railroad. Yeah, they throw up 4th and 31. I mean, it took a lot. I get PTSD just thinking about it. But no, I mean, it's the truth. I mean,
well, let's switch gears to the state schools. I don't think we're going to spend too much time talking about Ole Miss's victory over Georgia Technical Community College or whatever the heck they were. I mean, that was what you'd expect. They're playing. Was it Georgia State or Georgia Southern? I don't remember. But I mean, they were playing a Sun Belt school. Ole Miss is stacked. A Sun Belt school, even the best team in the Sun Belt's not going to be able to compete with a Lane Kiffin run Ole Miss team.
No, and I mean, not only that, just piggybacking off of that, we saw the game y'all were at in Hattiesburg. I mean, Sun Belt against the SEC once again, and big overhaul there at Southern Miss. New head coach Charles Huff coming over from Marshall, bringing 24 players. They had, and see, that was the thing that I think for just the average fan, when you look at that, we're like, oh, we're getting all these new guys. Now, his quarterback, I think he's going to be fine. I think the team's going to be fine when they're playing similar competition. I still think they're like Missouri in the SEC. I think they're a sleeper in the Sun Belt. I would not be shocked. But when you begin the season with as many new faces as he had, that's why I picked State, because Coach Lebby and company, I mean, he got his starting quarterback who missed 2/3 of the season last year in Chapin, and they had more continuity. Yep. Now, as the season goes along, especially through this first month of September for Southern Miss, they're going to find their footing. They're going to get better. And I know for a minute that game was close, but then State just forced their will and pulled away. But I really think that I think an 8-win season for Southern Miss is very doable in year 1 under Huff.
I agree with that. And watching, even though I picked Southern, you both remember me saying that State should be able to beat them because of the depth. I only picked Southern because of feeling I had.
Right.
Maybe I got caught up in the hype, but I will tell you, after sitting in on Huff's press conference, I believe in that guy. I think he is the right hire for Southern Miss. He even said it during the press conference. That was the toughest team on their schedule. And they hung with them for one half, and then 3 straight plays in the second half defined the game. Correct. But again, that's what SEC depth does to a lower tier school. Before this NIL era that we're now in, I think that the mid-majors, had a better shot, especially in week 1. They could get in there, the SEC team or whoever it was, Big Ten. They just hadn't found their mojo yet, and you could catch them sleeping in week 1. We may be past that now. I mean, I'm not saying that upsets won't happen periodically, but it's going to be fewer and farther between, just because with the amount of money and everything that these power conferences have, it becomes that much. It's really hard now for a mid-major to be able to compete, because they're those cast-off players that they could get, the ones who got overlooked, they're not necessarily getting overlooked. And if they do get overlooked, they're only there for 1 year. They're going to be at a power conference the next year. So, Kevin, what did you see at that game?
Yeah, one of the things that I noticed that I wanted to point out was standing on the sidelines, on both sidelines, there was a lot less confusion. I'm not as familiar with State and their sideline, but Southern Miss from previous years and under previous head coaches, there was a lot less confusion on their sidelines. And I know that they lost, and Southern Miss fans are going to look at that and just see an L, and I get that. But I can tell you from someone who was standing there watching, there was just a lot more organization. And I think that that's huge. Whenever you go just a couple of years ago, there was confusion on the sidelines. And you never want to see that, especially in a college football D1 program. You don't want to see that confusion and panic. And there's a difference between intensity and panic almost. And that was just not the case. And I thought that was a good thing. And I think that's why Southern was able to hang with State for a good half there. I really believe that. The same thing for me goes with State. I don't think there was a lot of panic there. I think it was just, obviously both teams were upset with penalties and things like that. I know Lebby talked about that in his press conference, wanting to clean up penalties, especially holding calls and things like that. We saw that. But overall, I think both sidelines looked a lot less confused and a lot less panicked. So if you're a State fan, I think that penalties can be cleaned up. I think that can help out a lot. And if you're a Southern Miss fan, just having that stability there, I think it's huge. And like you said, Huff, I listened to his press conference after you talked about it, and I think that, like you said, there's a lot to be come away a moral victory,
excited about.
Yeah.
Now let's get into this week's games, because let's switch back to our focus on our high school games, because we've got some fun games this weekend, guys, and we're going to start first with the preview of George County at South Jones. Guru, you're covering that particular game, so let's get into that, Guru. Tell me what your thoughts are going into that game. I know that George County, traditionally a good program. South Jones appears to be a program on the rise. So tell me what you're thinking going into this matchup.
Well, for George County, Coach Harrington from South Jones told me that they are basically, it's a 180 flip from the type of offense they ran last year. They spread out on offense. You had your quarterback in the pistol or shotgun, and you have 4 wideouts, and they're running a fast-paced, up-tempo offense. This year, they're starting with their quarterback under center. They're more of just a downhill, in-your-face run team. I think as long as South Jones doesn't make too many mental mistakes. I mean, I know we're still in the early season. This just being week 2. I don't see South losing this game. I got them picked at 28-10.
Wow. So not even an upset. This would be just, you've got them winning this game because of all the changes.
If this game had a betting line on it, it would be South Jones would be favored.
Kevin, what's your take on this game?
I know George County lost Deuce. They lost Deuce Knight, and obviously you lose a player of that caliber. That's huge, and like Guru just pointed out, they're changing their offense up, so that's got to say something. I don't know. I can't remember what they done last week. I don't know if George County won or lost last week. I don't know. I mean, I watched George County and West Jones. I watched George County bump West Jones from the playoffs last year. I do think South Jones has improved. So I don't know if I want to go out on that limb.
Well, hold off picking.
Right.
Remember, we got
I don't want to.
Guru's already spoiled his pick in that game.
I don't want to go off and give me some more time to think on it, especially with Guru saying what he did.
You got time.
He gave me the spoiler. But I do think that this will be a close game.
I think playing in the close game last week is definitely going to help South Jones. I mean, because they've already been tested in a game that when it came down to it, you had to deliver in the clutch, and they already proved that they can. So I'm excited for that matchup, Guru. I think you're going to have a good game to be at. So I'm excited for that one. Next game to talk about is another county rivalry game in Northeast Jones at West Jones. Kev, you're covering that game, so I'm going to go to you first.
This one's going to be a slobber knocker, man. I'm so excited for it, especially seeing West Jones and having an opportunity to see both teams. I'm excited to see the Bryson Cooley versus these defensive ends, man. I'm super excited to see what Northeast throws at West Jones' offensive line. And I think that that's going to be a key point in this game. Last week, and I'm not taking anything away from West Jones. I'm not, by far. But I think the conditions were not ideal for Laurel. We talked about how Laurel was a speed team, wanted to throw it around. They just weren't able to do that. The field conditions weren't ideal enough for it. I saw Jenkins come off the field like digging mud out of his cleats, like because he just couldn't get any grip, couldn't find anything. So, but I do still think that it's going to be two powerhouses just running the ball, and just excited to see it. Like I said, I don't want to give my pick away. But,
no, we will save your pick this time, Goo. But go ahead and give me your thoughts on Northeast Jones at West.
Well, I mean, it's a county rivalry game. Those are always fun for us to cover. Over the years, though, this rivalry for the last 15 years has been one-sided. West Jones has won 14 times. They won, I believe the final was 35 or 36-7 last year. Northeast last win came in 2016. Northeast is going to cause some problems down the road, and this is one of those games that it probably could go either way. It doesn't matter that it's being played in So-So. It wouldn't be any advantage if it was out in Myrick, because both sides are going to be packed just like that South and Northeast game was last week. That's going to be a good, fun environment for Kevin to cover a game, man.
Absolutely. And I again, Northeast Jones showed me something last week, even in a defeat. They're a gritty, tough team. And West Jones, of course, and right now they're the standard in the county. So I think that this is another measuring stick game for Northeast Jones. They're going to be hyped going into it. West Jones is going to be very hyped, wanting to protect their home court. So, again, I think it's going to be a great matchup. Really looking forward to it. And now we get to the one that I'm going to, the Jug. Hattiesburg at Laurel. Hattiesburg's coming to in between the bricks. I think that this is, a classic rivalry. It's hard to pick, who's going to win. Of course, we're not going to pick till the end, but I think we're going to see a good game. Both teams coming off of a loss. So I think that this is going to be a game they both want to win to prove that they're fine. Hattiesburg is in a new era with a new head coach. And I know that there's some things that Guru's going to talk about that when I go to him. But Kev, I'm going to go to you first because I want to save his take for last. So tell me what you think of the battle for the Jug.
Two things. Super jealous. You get to cover the Jug.
It's my first one.
Yeah, exactly. Me and you're missing out on this one. The Jug is the standard of the Mississippi. Nothing can stop the Jug. Guru wrote about it in his preview. Katrina couldn't stop the Jug. COVID couldn't stop the Jug. A world war could not stop the Jug. It still got played. Actually, one of the things was, I believe it was Mr. Jimmy Bass, like come home from like the Army or something, and was at the Jug like the same week. Like nothing stops the Jug, and it's just going to be a great game. I think. Both, like you said, both teams coming off of losses. Hattiesburg, new head coach, new quarterback, a lot of newness surrounding that program. And then you've got Laurel, who, fingers crossed, hopefully it's not going to rain and come a downpour in the next couple of days. Should be a little bit more of ideal conditions for them to play in, so we might be able to actually get to see what this offense can really be. And so I'm super excited for that game. Super excited that you get to cover it too. for you to experience the Jug.
Yeah, I'm looking forward because, like I said, it'll be my first time going to the Jug, so I'm excited for that assignment and looking forward to it. But Guru, you've been a part of this. You've experienced the Jug on a level that Kevin and I can't understand, because we'll never get to. So first, tell us what the Jug game means to you. Tell us what you're thinking of this matchup as you preview it.
Man, they're giving me chill bumps because that, when I was at Laurel in the early mid-90s, our biggest rival was West Jones. But the Jug game, like Kevin said, it's the Jug game. This is the 104th consecutive time that these two teams have met. I mean, that's the best in the state. It's being played in the oldest stadium in the state. Being in a part of a Jug game, it's something, and it's what Coach Ernest told me when I talked to him for my preview story on the game, because he knows it from both sides. He played in Jug games at Laurel, and now he's going to be coaching in his sixth game as the head coach at Laurel in a Jug game. And it's just like he said, it's the type of game that, years later, it's one that you tell your grandchildren about, especially if you're on the winning side. Unfortunately, the two times I was a part of it, we were not on the winning side. But it's something that Hattiesburg's new head coach coming over from the Peach State of Georgia, Coach, you're about to learn just what the Jug means. Now, I was told that he asked, why do we have to play Laurel? Because you have to play Laurel. The mayors get into it. The administrators get into it. Both city councils get into it. This is Laurel and Hattiesburg. And if you have any thoughts of ever trying to make this game not happen, you're probably going to be going back to Georgia.
Fair points, so yeah, it's going to be a fun matchup. Looking forward to going. So yeah, it's definitely an exciting atmosphere. And from what I understand, because again, I haven't experienced it, it's going to be unlike any other high school game I've been to. And you talked about how old it is, because I got to thinking about growing up in Vicksburg. The big game was Warren Central versus Vicksburg. They didn't start playing that series until either 1979 or 1980. So, I mean, the series started in my lifetime. This one predates all of us.
Started in 1922.
Yeah. Right. So it's amazing.
Before lights in the stadium were a thing.
Yep. Yeah. That was eight years later.
Yeah. At Laurel Stadium. So
the bricks.
Let's get into our college picks, and start off there. But before we get into that, I think that you have a breakdown of how terrible I did last week in picks, or did you get a chance?
I didn't get a chance to do it, but I think we all had our moments.
I dare say I probably was the low man.
I think my biggest flub was MRA JDC. And yeah, I think that was a flub. I think we all flubbed on Silva Bay. Their guys apparently were just too small. They small
little men
ball, little bit ball. No,
yeah, little man ball was just not good.
Yeah, but no, I do. I do think that we flubbed. I'll have the results probably next week. But I think one big game that I know I picked and got to pick on Parker was Bay Springs going down, beating 4A South Pike. Had just a crazy play to send them to overtime, but Bay Springs pulled it out. So had to give Parker make him say a "Go Dogs," and he said that to me Saturday morning.
Well, like I always try to do, I did my homework, and in high school I was 10-2, and I don't think either of you come close to that.
I know I didn't, but
He's just gotta go.
Like I said, I know I didn't. I freely admit that out of the three of us, because this is my first time in 20 years in covering high school, that I said it last week. I picked a lot of the home teams or teams that I heard of. So I expect to, now if I was more even with Kevin, that's on Kevin. That's on Kevin.
Real quick, I know it's not on the script. Starkville, Oak Grove. Anybody see that score?
When the final was 57-54.
54. Just a race, like absolutely crazy. And Starkville wins it on the last play of the game.
Crazy.
Unreal game.
I picked Starkville.
Of course you did. But anyway, let's go to the our college picks, and we've got one game we've got circled as our game of the week, and then we'll do the 3 state schools after that. So we're not doing as many college games this week, but our pick for the game of the week in college football is Michigan at Oklahoma. That's an intriguing matchup. Of course, Michigan. It's another Big Ten versus kind of SEC because they're only second year SEC. Do we really count Oklahoma and Texas as SEC yet? I mean, do we?
Yeah, I can't remember.
But I mean, it's going to be an interesting matchup. The question is, can Michigan go down to Oklahoma, get a win? This is not the same Michigan squad that won a national championship a few years ago. So again, it's a very intriguing matchup. I think Oklahoma's going to handle business. I think it's going to be a close game, but I've got Oklahoma in this one. Kev, what do you got?
I want to go with the SEC, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't care for Oklahoma. Call me spurned from the Oklahoma-Auburn game last year. Then they made up for it by beating Alabama. But there's just something about Michigan, man. I just think Michigan wins it. I think they grind out. I think it's one of those games where it might not be a high-scoring game, but Michigan just grinds it out. It would not shock me if Oklahoma wins this, obviously. So I could be very wrong. But I just think Michigan's going to grind it out and win it.
Go ahead, Goo.
I'm just going to piggyback off that. I mean, it's the only top 25 matchup, and both of these teams fall right inside the top 20. Oklahoma, like you said, Oklahoma's a tough place to play. Alabama found that out last year in their season finale, and that got Oklahoma into a bowl game with that big win over the Tide. But I'm not sold on Michigan. They had a huge drop-off last year after winning the national title the year before. I'm just not. And I think Oklahoma's starting quarterback, John Mater, who is a Washington State transfer, he threw for almost 400 yards in the season opener, albeit against Ball State, while Michigan was playing another directional Michigan school. I mean, even though this weekend is cupcake weekend in college football, Michigan and Oklahoma had their cupcakes last week. Yeah. Now it's time for two big boys to go toe-to-toe. As the end of the 2024 season went with Oklahoma, and then here we start a new season in 25, I'm starting to buy into them, and I think we can put them up there with Missouri as a sleeper team in the SEC. Does that mean that they're going to win or play for the SEC title? Does that mean they're going to go to the playoffs? Most likely not, but they're going to spring some upsets along the way. And at the end of the day, it'll be a close one, but Boomer Sooner, baby. OU.
Next up, we've got Jackson State at Southern Miss. Southern Miss staying in state again, playing Jackson State, SWAC power. I just don't see. Again, we talked about depth. That's what got Southern Miss beat last week. Mississippi State had more depth than they did. That's going to be the same thing Jackson State's going to face against Southern Miss. They don't have the depth to match up. Maybe Jackson State can keep it close early. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if this one is ugly and Southern Miss just beats the brakes off them. So give me Southern Miss. Kev, what's your pick?
Real deep insight right here. Southern Miss clears. End of story.
All right.
To the top.
he teased that he was going to give you a bit of a hard time there. This next game, I find it intriguing simply because of what happened last year. Ole Miss at Kentucky. Ole Miss, of course, lost to Kentucky last year at home. It's one of the games that you can circle that kept Ole Miss out of the playoffs last year. That has to be a motivating factor going into this game, but you're also going to Kentucky. This is not at home. Kentucky didn't look great last week against their cupcake opponent, so they did not look great. Ole Miss looked stellar. I think Ole Miss is going to be coming for blood. I think they win by 2 scores in this game, so give me Ole Miss. Kev.
Well, first of all, Kentucky played powerhouse Toledo, baby.
Yeah, that's a power.
If you remember what
Toledo wiped the floor in Starkville with the Dogs last year.
That didn't say much.
No,
At the time, it did.
yeah, at the time it did. No, I do think that Ole Miss wins this game. I really like Simmons. I've been on the hype train of him. He had a couple of interceptions, I think, against Georgia State, but honestly, I think he was just trying to force the ball and make some highlight plays. I think Ole Miss clears this one. They're going to be focused and locked in against Kentucky. Ole Miss wins this one by 10 plus.
Like you both alluded to, it's at Kentucky. Old Stoopsy. Never know what's going to happen when you have to go up to the Bluegrass State. I know they came off of a loss at home to the Wildcats last year, but Ole Miss is going to roll big.
You'll give a 2 to the top, but not a
Big.
hottie toddy, right?
I don't know what it is. unless you're talking about a drink or something.
Oh goodness! One of these days we'll have to get into the origin of that chant, and then you might talk about it because then it will be a drink.
Not doing it.
The next game, and I think this is for our state schools. This is the marquee matchup this weekend: Arizona State at Mississippi State. Arizona State is which conference are they in now? The Big 12, AC. I mean, I can't keep up with where all these Pac-12 schools went. They're not regionally in the spot where they should be, but I know they're the defending champs of their conference. Last year, they looked really solid. Of course, they lost their running back.
I figured they are from the Big 12.
Big 12. Okay, good deal. Yeah, so they're the defending Big 12 champs. Made the playoffs last year. Looked good in the playoffs last year, but without Scatterboo, are they going to be as good? Meanwhile, Mississippi State, this is a team that, while they beat Southern Miss, they only got 1 sack that entire game. Only 1 sack, and they should be able to penetrate a Sun Belt offensive line, and they weren't able to. That gives me some concern. But then there's some controversy going into this game because Arizona State's been kind of talking bad about Starkville in the lead up to this game, and will that be enough motivation to help the Dogs put something up in that locker room and be able to take care of business? I just don't see them winning it, though. I mean, I want State to win because I would love to see them put this school in their place and put their arrogance in the. But I just got too many questions about State's defensive line, so give me Arizona State. Kev?
Not so fast, my friend.
Oh.
If you remember this game last year, Mississippi State traveled there.
Mm-hmm.
They were playing that late night Saturday night game, the nightcap, baby. And you know what? Scatterboo ran all over Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Absolutely ran around them, through them, over them, whatever he could do. But you know what? Arizona State only beat them by a touchdown.
Yeah.
No more Scatterboo. And Arizona State did not look like a playoff team this year. It's in Starkville. It's going to be rowdy. I think I picked Arizona State in our paper, but after the week and looking it over, did I not? I picked State.
You picked State.
Well, look at that. Which state did I pick, though?
Mississippi.
Okay, good.
I was about to ask for a ruling if you can flip from what you
More
picked in the
time
paper.
thinking about it. I think State wins this one. I think Mississippi State wins this one.
Man, I hope you're right. I'm rooting for the Dogs.
And this is what Jack was talking about. This is a comment made by Kenny Dillingham, who is the head coach of Arizona State. It's about the differences between traveling to small towns and big cities in preparation for Mississippi State. When Dillingham, I would give another nickname, but that's probably not appropriate, stated, "We stay about an hour and 15 minutes away from the stadium this week because that's the nearest hotel that's not a casino." What a turd, Dylan.
And the truth of that, it came out a couple of days, or maybe yesterday, that they were staying in Columbia or so. So they weren't even staying as far away as he was claiming.
What, Columbus?
Columbus, yes.
I was going to say, if they're staying
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Columbia, that's going to be a little trek. But yeah, and do your homework, Coach, because there's at an hour and a half radius of Stark, Vegas, there is no casinos. That being said, those cowbells are going to be something new for them, the Pitchfork and Sun Devils. But I can't do it. I just looking at this game in the preseason, making a prediction in the kickoff magazine. I'm with all my heart, I will be cheering to be wrong.
Same here.
I'm with Jack. I picked Arizona State. Nothing other than I'm not a homer. I mean, I used to be years ago when I was here, but I've learned that you don't pick with your heart.
Yeah.
And you don't pick a local just because you cover them. And you don't pick one of the big three just because your brother is a huge supporter, season ticket holder, lover of all things maroon and white. Unfortunately, I think Arizona State's going to win. I think it's going to be a good game. I hope it's a good game. I hope I'm wrong, but I picked the Sun Devils.
Well, there you go. We've got one for Mississippi State. We're all rooting for Mississippi State. I will make a promise. Since I've picked against State twice, if State wins this game, Bulldog fans, I will pick against you the whole season, so that way I can reverse jinx it in your favor. So that is my promise. If State wins, I won't pick State all year, so I can help you guys out. But let's get into our high school picks now. Our first one is going to be Leak Central at Wayne County. In this matchup, I'm going to go with the home team. I'm going with Wayne County. So, Kev, what do you got in this game?
I just hope Wayne County could score. They absolutely got ran through last week, but it's Leak Central. I don't think Leak Central is a great football team. I get them and Leak County confused. I'll be perfectly honest.
Well, I mean, they're both the Gators, so I mean, how could you not?
It's kind of crazy. But I think Wayne County, they'll get back on board. They scheduled this game this week, right?
Yesterday came. Yeah. Remember, I got the text while we were in the office yesterday, was Tuesday? Yeah. And because I had the pullout schedule that's in the magazine, I just happened to tack one up on the wall at my desk, and I noticed something didn't look right with Wayne County's schedule, and then I started counting. I was like, "There's only 9 games," and I stated to the guy that's kind of weird. And it wasn't 30 minutes later that I get a text from, shout out to you, Dale McKee, a Wayne Countyan, that Wayne County was playing League Central, just had popped up. And, going back to what Kevin said, yeah, Wayne County blew out by a school from Alabama, 42-0. League Central played their county rival, Leake County, which Leake County is only a 1A school, and they gave up 22 points to Leake County. So, War Eagle, baby.
Next matchup, we've got Wayne Academy at Heritage. I'm just going to go with the home team in this one. Give me Heritage. I'll admit I don't know much on this matchup, so Kev, I'm going to default to your expertise here.
Yeah, I had to go. I had to go to some friends of mine who graduated from Wayne Academy. Shout out to Patrick Langley. He said that Wayne Academy is rebuilding. Got a lot of young players, and I think they got beat last week because of that. Obviously, Todd Breedland's still out there. Great coach, one of the best coaches in the state. But I think I'm going to pick Heritage in this one just because from what I understand, Wayne Academy is rebuilding.
We'll make it short and sweet. It's a sweep, but give me Heritage.
Next matchup, we've got Petal at Ocean Springs. Petal, of course, beat Hattiesburg last week. So give me Petal winning on the road in this one.
This is a fun one just because of a little bit of a coaching deal in here. You have Marcus Boyles, head coach at Petal, but you also have an assistant coach, which is Pound, Tracy Lampley, who Marcus Boyles coached. He's an assistant coach at Ocean Springs. With that said, though, I'm going to take Petal in this one. I could easily see where Ocean Springs wins it. Give me Petal.
Those are both good, solid picks, but it's not going to be a sweep.
Oh, wow.
Give me Ocean Springs.
Goose got Ocean Springs. In the next matchup, we've got Oak Grove going on the road to Germantown. So this is going to be a fun matchup. I'm going to go with Oak Grove in this one. I think last week, it was a dogfight for them. I think they get a win this week. So give me Oak Grove, Kev.
Yeah, give me Oak Grove. I know they gave up 57. That's probably what Guru's going to say. They gave up 57 points, but they scored 54 against one of the better teams in the state, Starkville. I'm going to take the Warriors in this one.
And that might be a possible 7A state championship game preview. Those two might meet down the road again. No, don't worry. I don't care that they gave up 57 points to Starkville. They might hang 57 on Germantown. Oak Grove all the way.
Next, we've got Mize at Presbyterian Christian. Give me Mize on this one. I just think there'll be too much here.
Yeah, I had to contact our PO to find out about Mize. I talked about last week they switched up. They're running the spread. But guess what? They had to go back to the old ways, old dolls, going back to old tricks. They had to go back to the wing tee to pick up the win. I'm going to say Presbyterian Christian wins this one. I'm going to say they win this one. They're in public school now in the MHSCA. It's the MAIS, but I'm going to give it to the Bobcats.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, Bobcats.
I was in Hattiesburg yesterday. Took my fiance's car to get serviced down at, shout out to Matt Grubbs Hyundai. And I was doing homework while I waited for them to do the oil change, tire rotation, all that. And I had my notebook, had my phone. I was going through, and on our list, this was one of two games that I just didn't see a clear pick and a clear winner. And I was going back and forth. I even went on Mississippi Sports Talk message board, and it was pretty much a 50-50 pick. And so I didn't make a pick while I was there, and I was headed down 98 to Interstate 59, and lo and behold, a sign sent from above. Car I'm coming up on, there on my right there in the back window, a PCS sticker. And that's my pick.
Going with PCS. Let's get into our next game, Newton County at Raleigh. I'm going to go with the home team in this one. Give me Raleigh in this one.
Yeah, it's pretty easy for me. I'm going to pick Raleigh in this one. I know they got beat by D'Iberville, but Raleigh's still Raleigh. I'm taking that.
And that was only a 14-6 game.
Yeah.
And that's, 3 classifications difference?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, clean sweep. The Lions, Raleigh.
Next, we've got Ben's Ford at Silva Bay. And, of course, Silva Bay, you talked about little man football burning us last week. But I'm going to stick with the home team. Give me Silva Bay.
It was funny because off camera, Jack was like, what's the Ben's Ford?
Is this an auto dealership? I think was my exact word.
Being the former Jasper County guy, I'm a little bit familiar with Ben's Ford.
Okaloosa.
But with that said, I'm taking the Saints. Give me Silver Bay in this one.
Finally. Not so fast, boys. And here's why. You alluded to Silver Bay losing last week to Christ Covenant 28-22. And their season opener, Ben's Ford Academy Auto Dealership, beat the same school.
Oh, wow.
50-21.
Oh, boy.
So we're going to be wrong on this.
Give me the automobiles at Ben's Ford.
I'm about to retract my pick.
Gerald, if y'all lose again this week, I will not pick y'all again. So, next up, we've got Clarksdale at Stringer.
You got to get it right. There's no S in there.
People, if you
There's no S in there. That's a big one right there. We'll have to talk about that off air.
I don't care about him. I'm picking Stringer, so go ahead.
Yeah, I'm taking Stringer. They were impressive last week. Man, Jaheen Campbell, 5 touchdowns, nearly 200 yards rushing. They look like a great team. I went back and saw some highlights of them, and talking with Coach Dan Brady, he was really excited about it. So I think they're going to host Clarkdale, and they're going to beat Clarkdale.
It's a good pick. I like the Red Devils. I like me some Mr. Brady. But Clarkdale with the upset.
Next up, we've got Quitman at Heidelberg. Give me Heidelberg.
Yeah, I'm taking Heidelberg in this one. No, what 4-star, 5-star running back anymore?
Correct.
Equipment. Yeah, give me Heidelberg. Give me the Oilers.
I think this one has a running clock in the second half. I think it's all Oilers, and I think it's big.
Next, we've got Taylorsville at Bay Springs. Taylorsville, of course, coming off of a loss. Give me Bay Springs. I think the Tartars are going 0-2, unfortunately.
Man, this is one that I wish I could be at, just because Bay Springs has billed this one the night of champions, and that's a little rub against Taylorsville. Not taking anything away from Bay Springs, because they've got a couple of championships the past decade, but Taylorsville is called Wintersville, and I think it's a little bit of a rub on Taylorsville, but I think Bay Springs backs it up. They went and took care of business against 4A team. They're going to take care of Taylorsville.
Yeah, I'm not going to go in depth on this, even though that what you just stated probably give a little motivation to the Tartars going into the start of the game, but the Bulldogs, they're just going to be too much. Give me Bay Springs too.
This next matchup, as we get into our county schools, Guru has already spoiled his pick in this one. We've got George County at South Jones. Again, what I saw from South Jones, the grit that they had last week. You talked about brain versus heart, in picking. My brain's screaming George County, but my heart's saying South Jones. Give me the Braves. I'm gonna follow Goo's lead. I'm picking South Jones in this one. What about you, Kev?
My heart says South Jones. It does. And like Guru said, a lot of things have changed in George County. I just can't get the playoff win over West Jones out of my head. And I think that in the tiers, I think it's George County, West Jones, South Jones. And I know, like I said, a lot has changed. And my heart would be rooting for South Jones, but my brain just says George County gets this one.
Fair pick. You want to add something to it since you've already picked?
No, yeah, I will. It's something you said earlier. They don't have Deuce anymore. They run a new offense.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Braves by 2 scores.
Like, you sold me. I was prepared to pick George County, and you sold me in the preview section.
I'll be the bad guy. I'll be the bad guy.
Next up, we've got the Northeast Jones at West Jones matchup here. Again, county versus county. I'm looking forward to this game. I think Kev, you've got a good game you're going to here. Northeast Jones showed us a lot last week. That defensive line versus offensive line battle is going to be so much fun to watch. But I just feel like the home team's going to take this one. Give me the Mustangs. I got West Jones winning this game.
I want to show y'all something here. It's in our kickoff magazine. You see those 2 big boys there on the end? Percy Taylor, my boy that I've talked about, Carson Lyons. I've said it, and I've said it. I can't wait to see the matchup between the West Jones line and the Northeast Jones line. And I think those boys are going to wreak havoc all night. But it don't matter because West Jones is going to win this by 2 scores.
Good pick. Good pick. Can't disagree with anything that was said. It's a rivalry game, yes, but sometimes you get into rivalry games and one team is just better. Now there can be some things fluky that happen. I mean, West Jones could just not be able to control the ball, and Northeast running game could get going, controlling the clock. But I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going to one up you. I got this. I told you, and I said it earlier. I'm not holding anything back. I'm just speaking my mind, and I'm not out here trying to step on toes because I love covering all 4 of our schools here in Jones County. But I think West Jones by 3 scores.
Wow.
I just want to, and I want to kind of do this. I think if West Jones struggles with any team, it's going to be a team that can toss the ball around when it's not coming a flood and the turf is crazy. I think that's where West Jones is going to be susceptible to.
Well, let's move on to the marquee game, our game of the week in the area. It has to be the Jug. That's, if the Jug's played, doesn't matter what the records are, that's going to be the matchup that everybody's talking about. Hattiesburg at Laurel, both teams trying to get their first victory of the season. Laurel was kind of derailed, as Kevin talked about, by the weather last week and the field conditions. Hattiesburg, of course, they have who Guru at one time referred to as the best receiver in the state. He may recant that when we get to him, since he switched his commitment from LSU to Tennessee. But we'll get to that in a second. Man, this is a tough one for me. I'm going to be a homer on this one. I'm going to pick Laurel, but I wouldn't be surprised either way. So I'm going with the Tornadoes. Give me the Tornadoes to get back the Jug.
Yeah, Hattiesburg has the best receiver in the state, arguably the best receiver in the state, who recently flipped from the Bayou Bengals. Rocky
he is stewing over there.
And I mean, they're the bigger team. They're the 6A team. Laurel's 5A team coming off of a loss. And my head says Hattiesburg. My heart says Hattiesburg in this one. But you've got to throw everything away. And you got to toss it. Miss that.
They look like LeBron.
Laurel wins this game.
I feel less good about my pick after he missed the shot.
To be fair, I did hit the coffee thing. It would have made it in.
If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas, wouldn't we? Jug game. Oh, man. One thing I forgot to mention in the preview of this one is this used to be the last regular season game for both teams.
Yes.
We were never in the same classification, and I wish they could go back to that because I think that's the way it should be played, because I hate the fact that we're playing this in week 2 when they're still working kinks out. I mean, yes, they had a jamboree, one half of football there, then their first opening week games, but it would just be so much more fun if, they already knew what was going to happen for the playoffs, and then they got to meet in the final regular season game, and then you just let it all hang out there because, that's what you get to do because it has no implications on what you're doing the following week. You just want to beat the hell out of the other team in front of you. And Tristan Keys, the Hattiesburg wide receiver, flipped from us to Tennessee, going to Rocky Top, but I had an inside source tell me at the South Jones Northeast Jones game that he did so because starting next year, Tennessee, who's traditionally been a Nike supplied school, is switching over to Adidas, and Adidas offered him a $5 million NIL deal.
Yeah.
And even if that's halfway true or 1/5 of the way true, I don't blame the kid for switching for that kind of money. With that being said, we have us a good receiver that's going to the Volunteer State as well. And Zachariah Jenkins at Laurel, Memphis commit. And like we've stated, Kevin and I both feel that he is just, he's not one of the top, what is he, like number 7 or 8 receiver in the state, I believe. But we both feel like as the season progresses, he's going to start stacking up stats and he's going to start putting up numbers and he's going to start going up those recruiting boards. And that's going to start on Friday night between the bricks. But unfortunately, Hattiesburg will keep the Jug for another year.
Solid picks across the board. I mean, it's going to be a fun season, And one of the things I'll say for all of you fans out there, again, it's week 2. If things don't look the way you want to, trust the process sometimes.
Well, and I'll go one step further with that. Coach Scott Pearson, when he was at West Jones, told me something years ago, and it makes completely perfect sense. there's 3 seasons. There's your non-district / region games, there's your district games, and then there's the playoffs. What happens in the first part of the season can help or hurt going into region play. But like Jack just said, yes, we want, it's not possible because they play each other, but we would love nothing more than all of our 4 schools in this county go undefeated every year. It'd be a lot of fun for us covering them, but that doesn't happen. And all that matters is the region games.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing for a jug.
Yeah, the jug does matter. We're not going to sugarcoat the jug. Kevin, what's your final word?
Yeah, I think that, kind of echoing what Guru said, this is tune-ups to region. That's what you're worried about at the end of the day. I think that just like the West-Northeast game, Guru said it, I think that West Jones does clear that game. But if you're a fan of Northeast, I think it's looking inside the score and finding those positives. You got a first-year starting quarterback. How does he play? Do you see things from there? Do you see, how does Carson Lyons and Percy Taylor play against a good West Jones line? That's the things that I'm looking for more than just the scoreboard. I understand it's a county rivalry and you want to win that. Just like the jug is the jug, you want to win that. But it's looking inside the score. And I think that's what, even George County South Jones is looking inside the score, seeing what you can find. So, like you said, Pearson's told that to me too, 3 seasons. And this one you're gauging inside the scoreboard.
One last thing before we wrap up, and no going on about it. The NFL starts this weekend. Give me your Super Bowl winner this year. Who are you picking to win the Super Bowl? Kev, who you got?
Go, Pat, go.
I love
Go,
it.
Pat, go.
Guru.
Saints.
No, you don't. You do not pick the Saints to win the Super Bowl.
I mean, you got to give us a heads up.
I wanted to surprise
I got
you.
notes. I take notes.
He does a great job. That's why I
do
didn't
my
tell them
homework.
this was coming.
Oh my God. Jeez Louise. Anybody but the Chiefs. I don't even want to see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I would love the Chiefs not to even make the playoffs. He's going to be a homer. I'm going to be a homer. Give me Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and the Cincinnati Bengals. Who day? Who day? Who day?
There you go.
Who's your pick?
I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills finally getting over the hump and getting a Super Bowl. I want to be a homer like you and pick the Packers, but I also don't believe my picks are that good, so I'm not going to jinx them like that.
Let's be real. I can't wait for the halftime show if the rumors are true.
All right.
Taylor
I think
Swift.
We can wrap this show. We can wrap this show up, Jack.
go.
Take us out.
Guys, this has been the Laurel Leader-Call Sports Show. I'm Jack Fairchilds, and for Kevin Lindsey and Josh Guru Nichols, we'll see you next week.